meeting. Oh, dear.
You got your sandals on?
Hey, you know what? We come prepared at all times.
There you go. There you go.
Just knowing that if you're going to Myanmar for your water project, you will be wearing sandals with your suit and tie at all times.
That's right. That's right. You got to be comfy, but look good.
Look at Lance. You look like the old man in the sea there with your fish on the wall and your very rustic kind of wonderful fisherman's look there. That's good.
Yeah, the old man in the sea. Thank you, Matt. I was feeling pretty good a minute ago.
Emphasis on
I still have my Corona beard going. Still my Corona beard going, and my whole office is just packed with trinkets or gifts I've been given, and that's actually came from I think the Bahamas. That fish back there was.
Well, you've got the whole Hemingway look going on here, so I thought it was,
okay.
very manly. So nicely done.
Yeah, I wish I had a good Hemingway quote right now to.
Well, hey, Jeremy, you can lead us in if you'd like to. That'd be fun.
Yeah, sure. You want to
nice
start
shirt,
right
Josh.
Right at 11:30. I'll play a little song first, and then I'll introduce.
Oh, no, you can surprise us right now. You can just carry us into the meeting.
How's the volume? You guys can talk.
Jeremy,
Fantastic.
thank you. That was fantastic.
Fabulous.
I'm a little bit embarrassed to tell you that during my college years, that was a dance number which we had a whole routine to that we carried all over Hawaii and all over the Western U.S. Thank you very much for that memory. Yes, if you recall the solid gold dancers from the 80s. I won't tell you that's exactly who I was, but you could have found me there.
Awesome.
Oh, that's a terrible date. So, hey, listen, jazz hands in ASL with the American Sign Language. This is how we applaud. So thank you very much for being here. It's great to have you all with us. It's wonderful to be here with you. We have a great meeting. My name is Matt Ball. For those of you that don't know, I suspect some of you do, but welcome to our second meeting of the 112th year of LA5 Rotary's fifth oldest club in the world. We share the stage with over 35,000 clubs in over 200 countries and territories across the globe with a membership of approximately 1.2 million people, but I think you already knew that. We'd also like to welcome our visiting guests or other fellow Rotarians. So if you're a visitor or a fellow Rotarian visitor, please raise your hand on the screen so everyone can see who you are and welcome you with a big hello. Thank you very much. Hey, we'd like to thank you very much, and a special hello to our keynote speaker today, Dr. John Dracup. He's going to be addressing us today with the topic of clean water for developing countries. And having had a chance to rub shoulders a little bit with Dr. Dracup, I can tell you what a privilege personally it is to have him here with us. So we're particularly grateful for his taking time to be with us. Dr. Dracup, thank you very much for being here with us. We would like to begin our meeting today. And also, I'd like to thank Jeremy Weinglass. You know, Jeremy kind of made us nervous this week because he was not feeling well, feeling pretty under the weather. And we're hoping that he stays away from COVID, but feeling under the weather, but still committed to Rotary to come and play music for us and be here with us today. So Jeremy, thank you for your great introductory music.
Absolutely.
And we're going to call on you in just a minute to play a special musical number. But first, we're going to begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And we're going to have Mr. Ken Chong offer our Pledge of Allegiance, after which we will have an inspirational moment by Gary Jimenez. So let's see if Gary is here yet. Gary, you here? I'm looking.
Yes, I am.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, we begin with Ken Chong. Ken Chong, we welcome you, and then we'll turn over to Gary Jimenez. So Ken.
Nice to see everyone at our second meeting. Look at that. Look at that. That's the right flag there to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I really like that. So if you'll please join me, you do need to stand and place your hand over your heart, so I hope you're wearing pants. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ken. Gary Jimenez.
Yeah, thanks, Ken.
Time over to you, Gary, please.
Thanks, President Matt. So my inspiration to you all today is rooted in my longevity in the club, and longevity is relevant because mine's just over 2 decades, but many of you have been in the club a lot longer than I have. So these are a few of my favorite things, or a few of my favorite Rotary moments. And if I had more time, I would have created a song and sang it for you. But as I was reflecting on my years in Rotary, and thinking about inspiration, these are some of the things I thought about. I thought about Chip Netzel wearing a pink bunny suit for an annual Easter party that we used to do for children year after year. I remember our membership recruitment happy hours at hip spots across the city, our international projects for eyeglasses, wheelchairs, and so much more, funding new water wells in developing parts of the world, our USC Fight On and UCLA tailgate lunches, both small and large, gateway programs at the LA Regional Food Bank, the Museum of Tolerance, and so many other really interesting business places around from our Rotarians and other interested people. Camp Ivica cleanup and maintenance, followed by amazing Lowry luncheons. Gatherings at Rotary homes for different parties, including one where at Marjorie Heller's house, where I brought some cookies, and it took over a year of her hounding me to pick up my dish, and I still laugh about that to this day, and Marjorie still teases me about it. Golfing with Bo and Laura Thompson, virtual scholarship interviews of this past year, and so many more excellent Rotary memories with so many amazing people. And I hope all of these things bring smiles to your face. They certainly brought a smile to my face, and they give me hope for our post-coronavirus future when we're all together again, making new memories and providing hope and inspiration for others. So let's keep this list going, growing, and that's my inspiration that I hope will bring inspiration to you, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. We appreciate that. And thank you for your longevity in Rotary. It's a real tribute, not just to you, but to the club and all that you bring to it. It's wonderful to have you as our silent majority, because you are truly one of the mainstays and anchors that makes this club very special and recognized as such. So thank you for your attendance, your persona, your contributions, and all that you do. You are a well-seasoned, and it's fun to be able to recognize you and to pay tribute to you, because people they're just not aware of how significant the contributions that you've made over the years, because you're such a quiet guy. So it's fun to be able to put you on the spotlight just a little bit. Thank you so much. We'd like to turn it to Jeremy. You've got another song for us, don't you?
Yes, I do.
All right, please play away.
I'm going to play God Bless America, and we'll try an experiment today. If you'd like to unmute yourself, we will try to sing together and see how this sounds on Zoom. So, and I will sing as well. It's not my favorite. Here we go. A little delay, but successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. It was a little painful for some of us with all the delay, but nevertheless, we appreciate the sentiment and especially your music. It's always, always excellent. Jeremy, we hope you feel better, feel stronger, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
As a little follow-up business from last week, I failed to present our special speaker that we had last week, Mr. Craig Needham, with an official gift, which I would like to give now as a thank you for him joining us. I had a special conversation with him, and especially since it was his first Zoom meeting that he had ever had, we wanted him to be aware that this is something that is not just a tradition for us, but it's something very special because of his declaration of his mother raising him from an iron lung for 13 years from his living room. We wanted to not just recommend to the board that our foundation pay $1,000 to the school scholarship program, but to do so in the name of his mother, which was his special request, Jane Boyle Needham. Hence, this is a special certificate. We're going to make sure that Craig sees this. We were able to give him and send him a special coin. And on that coin, it's got the 4-way test on it. And he said from now on, wherever he goes, whenever he speaks to Rotary clubs somewhere in the world, he will carry that coin with him as a reminder. Also, every one of our speakers this year will get from us a Rotary credit card. It looks like a credit card anyway, but it's simply a thumb drive. And that thumb drive pops out of the card and it will have a copy of the meeting that we carry on here. So Melinda is the one that's downloading our meetings and doing this and making sure that each one of our speakers get those. But it was a lot of fun to put those cards together and make sure that our speakers get those. So it's a nice gift for them. And then there's just one other little gift. And I have to thank Melinda Monterosa for this idea. But my wife is extraordinary. As you all met last week, she kind of is my secret weapon. She makes it so I look legitimate wherever I go. And whenever I'm in trouble, I pull her to the forefront and say, please pick up the slack. I'm in trouble. And so she always picks up the slack. She's amazing. But I simply said to her, based upon Melinda's request, that we do a little bit more, that we offer a special gift. And she said, well, then let's do what we like to do best. And that is at Christmas time, we like to send out bottles of jam to our special friends. So for all of our guests that speak at Rotary, you're going to get one of my wife's special homemade jams that she made last night. And it's going to come in a personal gift. And it says on the cover, when you're in a jam, here I am, Rotary LA 5. And that's going to go as a special gift to each one of our speakers, in addition to our Rotary card with a thumb drive of a recording on it. And in addition to the certificate with a $1,000. So thank you, Melinda. Thank you to our board. Nice. And thank you to all of you, and especially to our speakers. So John Dracup, I know I gave away the store there to you already, but just know that you're going to get some of my wife's jam in advance. All right, it's coming to you special. So she just made 12 bottles last night because she left town to go see her mom today. So she said, here, I'll leave the jam with you. So you've got it. Carry on with the club. She gave me a big thumbs up and then dashed off to the airport just now. So anyway, thank you very much. And it's a special thing to be able to recognize Craig Needham and to make sure he gets that. So thanks very much. Listen, I want to, as a form of announcement, we have got, Rick Gibson called me today and let me know that he could not make it today at the last minute because Governor Newsom is going to make a big announcement about what's going to happen in LA School District for not just K through 12, but how it's going to affect Pepperdine University as well. Because of that, he had just left, but the reason I bring that up, or bring his name up, is because Rick and I and all of our boards, our combined boards from last year and this year together, talked about doing a fundraiser, or in this case, a benefit for our club operations. And the reason why that's so significant is because we feel like our foundation is so strong, but because of membership and the online format of everything we're doing now, it changed the structure of our club so much that we felt like we really needed to kick into our club operations fund and make sure that that fund was strong and that we could maintain all of our charitable work that we're doing and our operations budget needing a real kick here. So as you might recall, we mentioned and did a little preview with you last week with David Osmond singing a song. Well, we've assembled a lot of other singers as well, and hopefully a couple of surprise singers even this week if I can get back to me. But nevertheless, we've got some nationally recognized singers that'll be here with us, and we are going to be doing that this coming Friday, July 24th. And on July 24th, instead of our regularly scheduled Rotary meeting, we will have an event benefit for our club operations with these singers and with a little bit the same amount of time that we take for our Rotary Club meeting. So just know that this meeting will be an online concert next week at this time. So July 24th, be right here with us and we will share with you our online concert. Have I missed anything, Melinda? Have I missed anything on that announcement? Wonderful. All right. Then those of you that don't know him, I get a chance to introduce once again, a very famous, if not infamous, realtor extraordinaire within our club. He tries to fly under the radar sometimes, but he's so gregarious and so well-spoken and articulate within his duties outside of Rotary. We have enlisted him to come into Rotary and make his presence known in such a substantial way that JT Waring said there's nobody better that he'd like running the Myanmar Water Project than Herb McGurk. So Herb McGurk is not just the man that runs our Myanmar Water Project, but as the co-chair of our service committee, we would love to turn a little time over to Herb to do a couple of things. First is give us a little message about the Myanmar Water Project, and then we'd like you to introduce our keynote speaker today, Dr. Dracup, and after which we'll turn the time over to Dr. Dracup. So I would like to turn the time over to Mr. Herb McGurk, realtor extraordinaire. Herb, all yours.
President Matt, I really don't know how to follow that up. I really do appreciate all the great words that you have, and I also appreciate you running this club this year. I'm very excited. You've asked me to do a number of things, okay? And how do I say no? Eventually I'll learn. But for right now, I'm really happy to be part of your term as president of this club. So I'm going to run a little bit on the Myanmar project, just kind of tell you where we are. This is a quick PowerPoint of what happened this year, 2020. It was a challenging year for the Myanmar Water Project. We had 8 systems to put up in addition to a double system that was going into a monastery. So I'm going to run through this very quickly just to let you know that JT Warren went over there this year in February. He and the team, the ground team, were able to put together everything but the tanks, the water tanks that go on top of the system. So you'll see what the system looks like and exactly what that was. But basically he was repatriated in April of 15, saying that he had to go, leave, or else. So he left and the team had to finish the project, which they did. Again, they were quarantined. But back in late May, early June, they went back and were able to finish the project. So we have a completed project of 7 systems plus an additional double system that was actually sponsored by a Drop of Life, an NGO from Hong Kong that has supported us with actually a double system for a monastery and then 3 other systems that we have done. So let's go to the next slide. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you very much. This is, again, a brief history. lot of the projects we do are on the Irrawaddy Delta, but this is basically a history since 2005. The project started 2009. We were doing Buddhist monasteries and nunneries, and then we've switched to villages. And as you can see, we've had a number of prominent Rotarians, especially the RI past president, who gave us fantastic support. Past President Dracup and then Ben Nerji, both were very, very prominent in providing the help. And again, all these high-level Rotarians, past presidents, have visited the project as well. Go to the next slide. So here's Myanmar. Just in case you were wondering where it was, it's sandwiched in between Bangladesh, India, China, Laos, and Thailand. And again, this is the Sea of Bengal where where Myanmar is situated. And towards the middle of the country, down below, that's sticking out like fingers, that's the Irrawaddy Division. That's where we've been doing a lot of building of water systems for the villagers of Myanmar. Next slide. Thank you, Melinda. This is the team that makes it happen. Here's the 2020 team getting together. We have Tuntun O, who basically provides the connections for our travels up and down the Delta. There's the township administrator, Tin, who is our chief engineer, chief everything, and then Ko Tuntun, who is he helps. He does all the driving, navigating. He slips through all the places in Yangon without hitting anything, and then drives all the way down to the Delta until we get on a boat. Again, there's our founder and fabulous Mr. J.T. Warren. Next slide, please. So this is the design of the system. What I wanted to emphasize is this is a system we did this year. Again, everything was built. We've got the tanks are now being put on finally after having to wait a couple of months because of the quarantine. But this is Lidwi Menzali, and it's basically, this is the design. This is all made in Myanmar. Everything, the steel is built there. The tanks are built. The housing, everything is done and constructed by locals in Myanmar. And there's the design there. It's a 30-year plus system. This is, go ahead. That's perfect. Great. Thank you, Melinda. And just to let you know, so far, we received some money from RI, about 140,000. All the other donations have been from individuals and other clubs and other districts. So it's actually mostly clubs. And then what's important is we've gotten about 75 systems right now in place, benefiting probably more than 50,000, much higher than that, but we're going to get that number. But 100% of all the money that we raise goes to the services of Myanmar because Rotarians do it, are volunteers. The systems cost about $9,000. That's actually increased, but this just gives you an idea of what we're doing. Next slide, please. Here's our transportation. I just always love throwing that in. Next slide, please. And this is a system that the LA chapter had paid for, supported. This is the first and only, so far, high standard electromechanical system. This is RI certified in the sense that it does take out a lot of the impurities in the water. And this is one of an only system that we have in the district. All the other ones, this cost a little bit more, which the LA5 Club paid for, and we really appreciate it. And it's really, we visited it this year again, and it's running fantastic. It's up and running still. This was installed in 2019 and still running again this year, and will be running for another 7 years, 8 years, and we'll be keeping an eye on it. Next slide, please. And there's just, of course, the cheesecake picture. This is the plaque that goes on the system. Next slide, please. And there's your ground team. This is from last year, but pretty much this is the team that goes out there and makes it happen. Next slide, please. And these are the systems these are the villages that we did this year, all completed. These are the populations that they benefit. Now, one thing that we didn't put in here is that although you see Onlang 3 has a population of 300, they also serve 3 to 4 other villages and tracts within that village. So that can many times be 2 times or 3 times that number. But what's important is that we are providing something that they didn't have, and that's clean potable water. Next slide, please. This is a Drop of Life. It's an NGO that contacted us last year and said, you know, we've heard a lot about the Rotary Club in Los Angeles doing some amazing things. We want to be able to support you as well. And so after the conversations and MOUs, they supported us with 3 systems, and then we built a separate system that they wanted us to commission for a large monastery just south of Yangon, which is serving 3,000 people. Next slide, please. And this is our website. Please go there anytime. And if you'd like to donate, I certainly would encourage it. But you'll get to know a lot about what the LA5 is doing in regards to the BMR Water Project. So I do encourage you. This is a brand new one. I've kind of switched over to this one because it takes donations on a regular basis, either weekly, monthly, or annually. Next slide, please. There's the team. There's the LA5 Myanmar Water Project Committee. Here we are. We're here to serve you and the rest of the world. Thank you for this time. And I'm going to send it over to JT because he's going to be introducing Dr. John Dracup. Thank you.
Herb, before JT takes over, I have just one thing I need to tell everybody. And that is, I have just received notice that one of our Rotarians has to leave today early. And that particular Rotarian is perhaps unaware of a gift that we have for him, but he may not consider it a gift. But before he takes off abruptly, I need to just interrupt our meeting long enough to tell you that we did not give out any fines last week. And I want you to know that tradition is not
Rotary on Zoom, so this works fine.
We are sure that this individual does not get off without a fine. And now Rick Gibson, he was also supposed to be here specifically because he knew I had something to ask him. And because Rick Gibson was so shy to actually fine our own Jared Smith this last year, I was ready to fine, and I'm still going to fine Rick Gibson $25 for not fining Jared Smith last year because he was way too shy to do something benevolent to such a great member of our club. So consider $25 going to Rick Gibson, and he'll get that post-mortem. I'll make sure he does. Now, before Jared leaves, which is I know what he's going to do, Jared's never been fined. And, you know, with all this beneficence and all this wonderful attitude and this great contribution, he continues to do this. It gets a little bit deep and thick around here because Jared has gotten to be that quality of a person that none of us can live up to. So as a result, not out of spite, but strictly out of sheer appreciation, we need to recognize Jared with a huge thank you and fine that man for never having been fined before, and especially for being the man he is. But thank you very much. I don't see a Rotarian's pin on him right now. There's a lot of reasons to fine him. $100 to Jared Smith. Thank you, Jared.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Jared, we know you've got to go today, so thank you. Appreciate it. My wife's spoon that makes the very same jam as the one that's ringing in this new year for you. So thank you so much. JT, we'll turn the time over to you.
Gosh, how can I top that, Matt? Thank you very much, Matt, and Herb as well. It's a very special pleasure that I have today because 4 years and 6 months ago exactly, I drove to San Francisco on Martin Luther King Day to address San Francisco Rotary 2, one of the few clubs that outclasses us by 3 spaces. And in the audience of that very outstanding club was Professor Dr. John A. Dracup, who was at that time a senior faculty member at UC Berkeley. He came to talk to me afterwards and we formed a friendship, which has blossomed in the years since that time. Since they originally started off at UCLA down here, they still had a piece of land in Santa Monica. So they came down here a couple of years ago, built a house, joined Santa Monica Rotary. We couldn't get him because it was too long a commute. But John has continued to be very interested in what we did. He was very supportive of his club 4 years ago in contributing $9,000, the cost of one of our systems, paralleling what our club has been doing ever since 2011. And he's just about to get them to do that again this year, I understand. John is a very key member of our committee. He's been here to the annual meeting at my house, and we finally got him as a speaker for our club. So briefly, let me give you his biography. This is from him, and it understates considerably his attributes, but I will read it as I have been ordered, and then maybe add a comment or two afterwards. John Dracup is a member of the Rotary Club of Santa Monica. Prior to that, he was a member of the Rotary Club of San Francisco, number 2. He is a civil engineer, that is a PhD in civil engineering and hydrologist. He holds degrees in civil engineering from the University of Washington, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and the University of California, Berkeley. He has taught water resource engineering and hydrology at both the University of California, LA, UCLA, and UC Berkeley for more than 50 years. He's not that old. He recently published a book entitled Clean Water for Developing Countries. Our little LA5 project is prominently and very laudatorily featured in that book, of which we are very proud. It's a validation that we're just very grateful to have. John has conducted clean water projects in Kenya, Peru, Honduras, and Guatemala. In 2015, the Rotary Foundation cited him for his efforts in supplying clean, safe water in developing countries. He lives in Santa Monica with his wife and family. John is recognized as one of the world's outstanding, most recognized academic authorities in the field of water, sanitation, and water engineering. We are very, very blessed to have him as a key member of our committee and very blessed to have him as our speaker today. John, thank you very much. It's all yours.
Well, thank you, JT, for that wonderful introduction. And I want to thank Melinda for inviting me to give this talk. It's a wonderful pleasure to be here. And Melinda is handling the slides. So, oh, good. Okay, here they are. There we go. All right. So my talk is divided into 2 parts. One is the clean water for developing countries, and which is the title of my book. And the second is on one of the Rotary water projects I've worked on, which is in Remba Island, Kenya. And as I said, it's a pleasure to be here. Next. Oh, okay, thank you. There's a great need for clean water in the world. There are 850 million people who do not have clean water. This means that they have to walk many kilometers to find the water, and it's often polluted, full of sediment. And there are 2.6 billion people in the world who lack toilet latrines. And because of this large number, the Gates Foundation has taken this over. It's one of their primary areas of focus. And remarkably, 6,000 children die every day under the age of 5. They die every day from waterborne diseases. This is over 1 million children a year. Next. So this is the cover of my book, Clean Water for Developing Countries. This little girl here is taken at a refugee camp in Iraq. Next. So there are 5 steps for providing clean water, and these are the first 5 chapters in my text. They are, number 1 is safe source. You have to have the well covered with concrete with adequate drainage, and the pump comes up in the middle of this concrete. The second step is to remove the sediment from the water. You've often seen water that's covered with brown suspended sediment. And you see that everywhere, and it has to be removed before the water is filtered. The third step is filtering the water, which is chapter 3, and it's divided into 3 parts. The filters that are most used in developed country are membrane filters. The second part of the chapter is biosand filters, and then there are ceramic filters. The fourth area is disinfection. You have to include chlorine to remove the bacteria and the viruses. Most countries in the world, they boil their water to remove disinfectant, but of course that requires energy from the wood, which is scarce. And the fifth and last area, chapter 5 of the book, is safe storage. The clean water has to be in a bucket with a spigot on the bottom and a lid on the top in a safe place so the children can't dip their hands in with their cups and therefore pollute the water. Next. So there's 17 chapters in the book. Other areas are water quality, sanitation and hygiene, cultural issues, marketing, sustainability, and there's 16 case studies, one of which, as JT said, was the Myanmar project. I was in a Rotary convention and a man asked me in the House of Friendship, I was walking by, and he said, give me $2,000 and I'll drill a well for you in West Africa and put your name on it. And I said, how's the quality of the water? And he said, well, I don't know, but it's better than they have. Well, we really don't know that. The water quality has to be tested either in a local lab, or there are techniques that are covered in the book that can clean the water, test the water in the field. Another chapter is on sanitation, another on hygiene, which is mostly washing hands. Cultural issues are very interesting and surprising. It's interesting that people don't want to go and get the clean water. They like that taste of their old polluted water, and often with latrines, they rather do open defecation where they can talk with their neighbors. And then marketing clean water has surprises. You have to charge for clean water. You can't give it away for free. If someone gives you a ticket to a baseball game or a concert, you're less apt to use that than if you bought the ticket yourself. So you have to charge for the water. Sustainability is a big problem for developing countries in that you have to have a wash committee that takes care of the system once it's built. And as I said, there's 16 case studies. Next. So the second part of my talk is about the water system that I was involved in Remba Island. Remba Island is in Lake Victoria, Kenya, and you can see this is Lake Victoria, the second largest freshwater lake in the world after Lake Superior. It's divided up between Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya has this little bit of it here. You fly in from Europe, you fly into Nairobi, stay overnight, then there's an hour flight to Kisumu, which is on the western edge here. We operate out of that city. The host Rotary Club for this, and there's always a host, is at Nakuru. It's a Rotary Club of the Great Rift Valley in Nakuru. Next. So why was Remba Island chosen? Well, Kenya was the #1 country in Africa for HIV/AIDS, and Remba Island was the #1 area in Kenya or HIV/AIDS. So this was the hot spot in all of Africa for HIV/AIDS. And the Kenya government built a health clinic on Remba Island that it would not staff with nurses until clean water was provided. Next. So the project really began with this individual who's a medical doctor from Vancouver, British Columbia, and he saw the need for clean water in developing in Remba Island. And so he got Rotarians, he's a Rotarian, and he got together Rotarians in Kenya who contacted Rotarians in the United States. Dr. Pena has dedicated his life to providing aid to people in Africa. Next. This is a picture of the clinic that was built waiting for the clean water. Next. So in Remba Island, there's 10,000 people, and it varies between 8 and 10,000 depending on the fish. It's a fishing village or island, and it's 35 hectares. It's about twice the size of Alcatraz in San Francisco Bay. They have no clean water, no sanitation, no electricity. And the solid rock makes digging latrines difficult and impossible to drill. Next. So the surrounding lake is polluted mainly because of the runoff from the open defecation. So we have Escherichia coli count. It should be 0, but you see it's very high. And I won't go through these others, but there is turbidity in the water. Next. So the objectives were to provide clean water for the 10,000 people, and we programmed 10 liters per day per person. And this is a small amount of water, really. It's only 2.5 gallons. But the amount, if we gave the whole amount, it's 100,000 liters. We built ECONSAN latrines. ECONSAN latrines are composting latrines where the waste material is dried and used in gardens. Then there's a wash committee that cleaned the trash every day, as often as possible, and provided books. We also provided books, uniforms, and equipment for the public schools. Next. So from Kisumu, you drive to a ferry and take this ferry across for an hour to a town of Mbita. It's a remarkable ferry. It usually has goats and cattle on it, lots of things. Next. So then you arrive in Mbita, and we stay overnight there. There's a tropical research institute there that we stay at. And then we take a boat 3 hours out to this little speck of island here out in Lake Victoria. The project was, the host, as I said, was from the Rotarian Club in Nakuru. Now it's from this Rotarian Club of Mangando Island and the Mbita. So that's the Rotary clubs that run this project now. Next. This is our first day going out. We leave it very early in the morning where the lake is very calm. It can get very rough later in the day as the winds come up. These are 3 Rotarians from the United States, Mark, Jack, Ella. And here we have Dorothy, George, Tom, and Larry from the Rotary Club of Nakuru. Next. So this is Remba Island from the air. I did not take this picture. You can see that the people live in these shacks that are tin, and the part of the island here is bare. The high point of the island is right in here, and this is where we built the water system. This harbor here is where our boat will come into. A side note, the Lake Victoria now is at an all-time high, and part of this island is flooded due to this hydrology. Next. Here's when we arrived at the island. You can see the 10 corrugated metal shacks that the people live in. And these are their fishing boats that they're run by these electric motors, these gas motors. And they go out in the morning, catch their fish, Nile perch, and bring it back in the middle of the day, and they're refrigerated large boats from the mainland that buy the fish and take it away. Actually, these fishermen make a very good living compared to the average in Kenya from this occupation. Next. The surrounding lake is used for bathing and for washing clothes. This is the traditional women working, washing clothes, and women do all the work in the developing countries, as many of you know. Next. There's trash all over the island when we got there. Next. There are a few latrines, and they're privately owned. You can see there's locks on these latrines. And so it's part of our system was to build latrines. Next. In their organizations currently there are the beach management unit. We found it's about 20 men. We had them add women to this unit. And then there's a wash committee. It's essential that you have a wash committee there because they are the ones that take care of the system. They own the system after it's built. Next. So here's the system that we designed. This entire system, the entire project, Rotarian project, was orchestrated by Bob Wobana, who is a Rotarian from Olympia, Washington. It's now managed by Dennis Wilson, who is a Rotarian from Lacey, Washington. And Bob raised the money, $165,000, to build this system from Rotary clubs around the United States. And what we see here is a 10,000 liter raw water tank. Water is pumped up to that from a centrifugal pump in the lake. It's run by electricity from the solar panels up here on top of this tower. The water then goes through filters that are here in this building, as you'll see, and then out to this 10,000 liter clean water tanks. That is distributed to 3 kiosks that are throughout the island. The filters, the system is run by the difference in head between this tank here and this tank, which is 4 meters. Next. So these are the filters. They're called sky hydrants. They're from a company called Sky Juice Foundation in Sydney, Australia. They're very unique filters in that they're membrane, of course, but they're 0.04 microns, which is remarkably small and will take away all the bacteria and some of the viruses. They're backwashed every day. These filters have a system where you move these paddles, and every day the membrane filters are backwashed so they don't have, so they're not clogged. Next. So this is the day we put the system online. We have these 3 kiosks that they have 4 taps here. We gave free water the first day. They came from all over the island. and filled their 20-liter jugs here. This is Rotarian George checking out the system. And inside here, there's a person who manages the water and also collects money when we started charging. Next. So the system is still operating and doing very well. Diarrhea courses down. Children are going to school. Daily use is 10,000 liters a day. So some people are still getting water from the lake. Bottle sales are down 75%. We charge 50 Kenya shillings, which is the smallest coin there, which is 6 cents. And 20 liters of the bottled water costs $10. So this bottled water is 167 times more expensive than the water from the kiosks. And the savings are about $500,000 a year. That's remarkable. That's actually a real number. Next. We built 2 ECONSAN filters. And if you want to know what these are, you can find online. They're unique, remarkable toilets, I should say. And as I said, they're composting. Next. So the cost was $165,000. Bob Wobena wrote the global grant. He got funds from the Rotary Club of the Olympia area, San Francisco, Dallas, Texas, and Denver. Put this all together. Next. And so, as Kennedy said, anyone who can solve the problems of water will be worthy of 2 Nobel Prizes, one for peace and one for science. Next. So the children, of course, are very poor. It's rocky. You can see the area. They have bare feet. This little boy has a bone as his toy. Next. And this is my last slide. This is actually sunrise on Lake Victoria. I took this picture from a ferry boat. And now I'm ready for questions.
Thank you, John. We will turn it over for questions. So if everyone would like to either raise your hand or speak up, we will do that right away. So if anyone's got questions, John, thank you very much for being here. John, which Rotary Club have you been involved with again, personally?
Well, when this system was built, I was with the Rotary Club of San Francisco #2. And I joined Rotary because I heard that they actually let you go in the field and get your hands dirty and work on these projects, which is unique. And it's been a wonderful experience. Now I belong to the Rotary Club of Santa Monica.
Very good. Thank you very much. Well, we've got a question from Katrina. Am I saying that right? Okay, Katrina, what's your question? Take yourself off mute.
You know what? Actually, I don't have a question, but I was really excited about the whole project. One of my best friends lives in Kenya, and she's in Nairobi, which is where you fly into when you get there. But I didn't realize that the country was so vast and it took so many steps to get everywhere. One of the things I am interested in is you did this on Victoria Island. How many other areas nearby within Kenya have the same type of problem and would benefit from this type of a water system?
Well, there are many different water systems. As I like to say, there's no one system fits all. We had to build this large system because there's so many people and so densely populated. A lot of Rotarians dig wells, as they do in Myanmar, because they're for individual villages. But there is a tremendous need for water, clean water in all over Kenya, and there's many Rotary clubs working there in other projects. The Rotarians that I mentioned that were in the boat from Connecticut, they have a separate water project.
Thank you. Eric Weiss, you've got a question for us.
Thank you very much. More of a comment than a question. I don't know if anybody has been paying attention to the series on Netflix called Inside the Mind of Bill. It's fascinating. It's extremely well done. It's in 3 parts, and the first part really focuses on water and toilets. And if you want to really get even a further deep look at how deep this problem is that Dr. Dracup is talking about, I highly recommend giving it a look. Thank you, Dr. Dracup. It's really great to see that project. I've only ever seen the Myanmar ones before, so thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, there's, you know, the 34,000 clubs all over the world. There's many water projects going on. And in our district, which is 5280, we're trying to form a water committee for all the people that are interested. For example, Cindy Rood is one of the viewers today. She's from the Rotary Club of Beverly Hills. She does water projects in Malawi and wells. And so there's many Rotarians doing many water projects in this district.
Thank you very much. Eric, thank you very much. Lance Miller, you've got a question for us or a comment, please.
Dr. Dracup, thank you for your presentation. This is the first time I've heard that you actually charge for the water, and it makes sense because there is a value there, and if you give it away for free, it has a tendency to lessen the value. But what I'm curious about is who would, in the system, once you put the whole well there and the whole water system there, where does that money go? And does that money you charge for the water actually sustain the maintenance and the administration? Who's administrating this whole program once you leave and establish it?
Yeah, thank you, Lance. Excellent question. As I mentioned, we have a Rotary Club from Mbito and Manfango Island, 2 Rotary clubs who are joined together, orchestrating the maintenance of the system as it now exists. And there is a wash committee on the island. And the wash committee collects the money, and it's used for maintenance as needed. For example, the pipes will spring a leak, or sometimes one of these 10,000 liter tanks has to be replaced because it's leaking, and those cost money. So Dustin Wilson from Lacey, the Rotary Club of Lacey, Washington, has raised more funds for the maintenance of the project.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Drake. We'd like to give a warm thank you from all of us here at LA5 for your time and especially your research and the detail of your comments. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Drake. It's great to have you here.
My pleasure.
Before you go, we would like to recognize you as not just our special speaker, but someone with whom we would like to recommend to our board that we actually donate $1,000 or contribute $1,000 in your name to the Myanmar Water Project. So we're going to make that recommendation to our board that it comes from our foundation to do that in your name. So the Myanmar Water Project will hopefully receive that $1,000 as soon as our board makes that a final yes. But at the same time, that's our plan, that's our agenda. But we wanted to thank you, especially because we know how significant this water work is that you do. And thank you very much again for being here.
My pleasure.
And don't forget, you will be receiving your thumb drive with today's meeting, and of course, my wife's jam. So you're going to get a special thank you from her in the mail, all right?
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Dr. Dracup. We also want to give a big shout out, speaking of thank yous here, for those of you that have not had a chance to see our version of El Rodeo this week. I want to thank Adam O'Shea for really taking over the reins there with Paul Ekstrand. Even though Paul's got his hands deeply in it still, he and Adam O'Shea and Adam Weiss and the whole marketing team has really put together some significant work on what they're doing with El Rodeo. And in El Rodeo, you'll notice that we've got a page, and also on our own Rotary page, we've got a listing of our sponsors that make it possible for our club to function, our corporate sponsors and those that really contribute and make it happen. We particularly have those sponsors that give so much of their personal time to Rotary that make it possible for us to do things. We've got our thank you, Bo Lee from NFP that make it happen. Thank you, Adam Weiss with Great Matter. And of course, Darren Marinoff, thank you very much. Your sponsorship clearly makes it happen in our club. And these things are not a small contribution that you make, as as Darren and I talked significantly about the kind of time that he puts into this club, it's clearly days out of his week that he's taking in order to make this happen. So this is not any different for Adam Weiss nor Bo Lee. And so we thank you very much for all of the corporate sponsors and the individual sponsorships. We look forward to that. So again, for our club operations for next Friday, thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. Wanted to make sure that everybody remembers that this next Friday will be an out of the park online concert that we're going to do virtually. And this is a big deal for us. We are really looking forward to this. It was a lot of fun to connect with these individual singers and these performers. And like I say, I hope to have a couple more surprises for you. But when you hear them sing and you hear them regard LA5 personally and what they're doing and what we're up to, they have a deep respect for what we're doing. And so it's a real opportunity for us. And again, an hour during this lunch hour, I know it's a little bit off in terms of what you would normally receive for a donation or a benefit, not in the night, not where you're going to drink, but we know Rotarians don't hesitate to do that even now. So listen, we look forward to having you next Friday. It's going to be a wonderful day. I just wanted to give you a heads up because all of you are doing so many individual projects and you come to us with discussions about these projects. And one of those, I got a call just yesterday from the humanitarian project that Rotary International is doing in Costa Rica. And as you know, some of my most fortunate, blessed work that I get to do is with the consuls general and ambassadors around the world. And the Costa Rican consul general is going to be involved with us as we are going to coordinate and sort of partner with Rotary clubs in Costa Rica, and at the same time, other partnerships, corporate sponsorships to make that happen. So again, big things are always happening. And because of our diplomatic work through Rotary International, it's another great project we're doing. I know that we've got at least 2 other projects that I've been approached with this week alone that Rotarians are working on for both local funding, local grants and funding, as well as our international grants and funding. So thank you very much for everyone, for all of your sacrifices of time and your efforts to make this happen. We like to end every project, every meeting with our 4-way test. As a reminder of what our 4-way test is, and I'd like to end the same way today by just reminding everyone that as we do all that we do in Rotary, we ask ourselves, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Does it build goodwill and better friendships? And is it beneficial to all concerned? So with that, we end our second meeting of our 112th year of our Rotary Club meetings. Thank you, LA5, for being here. It's wonderful to have you all. Have a great weekend. And thank you, Melinda, for running our show here technically. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
Right,
thanks, Melinda.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Mike.
Nice job,
Thank
Matt.
you.
Thank you.
Great to have you all.
Great week.
Weekend, everyone.
Hey, for on
Did
time.
you ring the bell, Matt? Did you
Thanks,
ring
Darren.
the
Oh,
bell?
ring the bell. Oh.
Ring the bell.
The bell.
Sounds like a fine to me.
There it is.
Thanks, Darren.
Good call, Past President Eric.
All right.
Great meeting,
Hey,
Matt.
when you're in a jam, there he is. Eric.
Isn't that a fine?
Yeah, exactly. Failure to gong.
That's good. Oh, the Ken Chong Gong Show. This will be good.
Bye, everybody.
Great to see everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a great
Thank you.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again, Christopher, for being here.
You're welcome.
Matt.
Be well, everybody.
Thank you, Ann, for being here. JT, great stuff.